Welcome to Conspiracy 420. I am RockerMike. This is Rob Rossi, and we have Carl Denaro here for the next episode of the Son of Sam Chronicles. We've been talking about the Stacy Moskowitz Robert Violante shooting in Brooklyn. This would be the final shooting related to the Son of Sam shootings altogether, and we're still kind of unpacking what happened that night. Many witnesses, many different sightings of David Berkowitz, people with wigs, people that, with the last episode we kind of left off with David Berkowitz was seen at his car, which was the Ford Galaxy, at a hydrant about 2 blocks away from what would be the shooting, and really it showed that there was no way for him to get back to the shooting site in time. Howie, give a little background on this because we're going to talk about Cecilia Davis. Can you tell how that went down?
Well, Berkowitz had parked here, slightly behind the hydrant, but enough that it was illegal. It was an illegal park.
Right.
Cecilia Davis was with her date, and they were triple parked.
Very little parking around it.
And the streets,
he was dropping her off.
He was dropping her off, and a lot of action though in this neighborhood at 2:30 in the morning.
Sure.
So it wasn't some quiet, situation like Carl's or even Christine. It's completely. There is bustle.
Right.
So he comes. He had gotten a ticket. She sees him get the ticket. He's pissed. He gets in the car, the cops go, and he slams on his horn for them to leave, so he can leave. Now,
he was trying to pull out of this spot?
He was trying to get out.
Right.
Well, first he waited for she saw him waiting for the cops to leave.
Yeah.
And then, but two things always kind of intrigued me about this. Shit is happening down there moments away.
This is 2 blocks away.
2 blocks away. It's going to happen tonight. He knows it.
Yeah.
Right now, he knows I'm going to get pinned for this. If I get this ticket, which I have, I'm going to get pinned. I'm a Jewish dude in Italian Brooklyn the night that people got shot a block away.
And I live in Yonkers.
And I live in Yonkers. Okay? It's a bullseye. So he's pissed. So he slams on the horn, maybe out of frustration, but maybe so those cops will come back and say, what's going on? Maybe.
You think? Yeah.
Who knows?
Carl, do you think after David Berkowitz got the ticket, right? He got the ticket. You think he went to talk to these people to maybe even stop the shooting that night? Do you think that was a possibility?
That's exactly what he told Maury. That he got to the car, saw he got a ticket. I believe he left the ticket on the windshield.
Would make sense because you get another one.
And then he cut through the.
There's apartments right there.
The apartments.
We cut through that. How eerie was that?
Right. We think we took the same path that Berkowitz would have taken.
I think we did because where you ended, you
right to get back to the shooting scene.
Yeah, playground area.
And the story goes that Berkowitz tried to call the shooting off. He got the ticket, was pissed off, but realized that the shooting can't go down because the ticket. So he leaves
on foot, right?
On foot. Right? Cuts through. There's a walkway which will bring back to that long walkway, 17th Avenue that we were just at by the shooting.
That's right.
To warn them.
That's right. He comes back.
To warn them that, hey, I just got a ticket. The shooting's off. And they said, no, the shooting's on. You make sure the cops aren't around here. Wow. So he walks back. Then your story picks up. Then he gets a ticket. He's pissed off.
And he follows the cops.
And he watches the cops. The cops are going down here, going very slow, looking for more tickets to give out.
And they gave out two others.
And they give out 2 other tickets.
Yes.
And then he tries to pull out when they get far enough away. because he wants to follow him, but he doesn't want to be close enough. He doesn't want to tailgate
But he
him.
does that honking.
So then he does the honking because she's triple parked. The boyfriend lets Cecilia out of the car, and he...
Is she with her dog?
No. She goes in the house, her boyfriend goes home, opens up the street so Berkowitz can get through.
He gets through.
He continues down, following the police car, but at a good distance. It's my understanding that at the end of the block...
They turned right. They both turned right.
The cops turned right, and Berkowitz made a right, which is going further away from the shooting scene. That's okay.
Okay. My question is, when did she get face to face with him?
Okay, so it's coming. So we don't know where Berkowitz went. We're pretty sure, based on Maury Terry's timeline of reenacting what we just discussed and getting Berkowitz back to the shooting scene in time to do the shooting, which is all time stamped by when Tommy Zano saw the shooting, when he went to the cops, and so on and so forth. Next thing you know, she goes into a house, gets the dog for a walk, and runs into what turns out to be David Berkowitz again, the same guy that she saw getting the ticket, standing there all pissed
crossing
off.
Here,
walking.
So we
walking.
think possibly one of these alleys is where he parked.
Yeah, there's private homes right here. You're seeing apartments right here, but there's
and
private homes
the cops are
right
not
here.
going through the alleys giving tickets there.
He's on his way.
No, they don't do that.
So he's on his way, if I'm not mistaken, he parks the car, let's assume it was there, and he's on his way back to the shooting scene.
Cutting through here.
He's cutting through this building complex, going back to the shooting scene.
And they cross.
And that's when they cross paths.
But the thing that's interesting is they've had this interaction with the car, with the ticket, with the triple parking. He's carrying something. We think it's a walkie-talkie. We don't think it's a
She
weapon.
just said it was metallic.
It was metallic
in his
or
hand,
maybe
right.
a radio or whatever. But he looks her dead in the eye.
Well,
now, if you're a perp, who looks somebody straight in the eye?
You don't.
The only thing that I can think, and everybody, it's open to conjecture, I think that he was trying to connect with her, saying, you saw me here. Whatever's going down, it's going down quick. I couldn't have possibly...
Right.
Like, he's almost planting it to her,
so you're saying that once he got the ticket, he knew he was screwed.
Absolutely.
Okay, so he probably wanted, he went over there to try to, or communicated with them to try to stop it. They said no. So at that point, he's like, I'm going to get caught here. When he sees Cecilia, he gives her a look like, I'm here.
Yeah,
exactly.
make sure.
No matter what you hear about
make sure
over
you
there,
remember.
I'm over here.
Exactly. But
Interesting.
by the same token, he's right behind a cop. Why doesn't he start driving erratically behind that cop or speeding up in front of that cop?
Yeah.
Well, maybe he didn't want to totally get caught.
Yeah,
at that point.
exactly.
It was like he.
What do you? Well,
who knows what goes through
the
his
first
mind.
question would have been, "It's like, what are you doing here? You live in Yonkers. You're up to no good. You're robbing cars.
Yeah,
whatever.
what are you doing?
I mean, who would think you're here to shoot somebody? But
how long was it from that interaction to the actual shooting? What's the timeline
I
of
don't
that?
know the timeline.
I don't know, but that is the.
It was 3 minutes.
It had to be 2 or 3 minutes tops, right?
Right, and I believe
She went up, she unhooked the dog, she sat down, she opened a paper, and boom.
Right. Okay. So let's go back. So after this interaction with Berkowitz, like how he said, she goes upstairs, unleashes the dog, sits down, and she hears the gunshots. So according to Maury's reenactment, there's no way Berkowitz could have made it back.
No,
so
it's too far.
It's got to be, again, 2-3 minutes.
Only way to do it would be a 16-year-old athletic
track
kid running and knowing exactly where to go.
The Flash can do it.
But the other thing that doesn't make sense, or taking Berkowitz out of the picture, is we already spoke about other eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
So with Berkowitz, let's just say for argument's sake right now, Berkowitz is the shooter. What did Tommy Zano see? Tommy Zano did not see David Berkowitz.
I don't think Berkowitz pulled a wig out of his pocket,
right?
And threw it on to.
So you have a witness that says she saw somebody carrying a paper bag with a cheap plastic wig. You got Tommy Zano saying, giving the police a description that they used as the shooter, and none of these people look like Berkowitz. So, I mean, to me, it just solidifies the case that Berkowitz couldn't have done it. Even forget about the timeline aspect of it. It just doesn't make sense because we have too many other eyewitnesses that saw different people. The hippie, the grubby-looking hippie that was hanging out by the park house. All these different people, none of them which were Berkowitz. So Berkowitz is doing a lot of stuff that night to be a shooter. He's getting a ticket. He's following the cops. He's going away from the shooting scene. Somehow finds another parking spot. Returns to the shooting scene
after the shooting.
Right.
Walking down.
And then after the shooting, he's seen walking very calmly, not in a hurry, not like the gunman. Who ran at a very as the eyewitness, the hairdresser said,
bank
it
robber.
Looks like he just robbed a bank. To give you an idea,
how do the cops take
running.
all of this and get Berkowitz, even with the Son of Sam letter found in his car, written in cursive you know, how do they not take all of this and say, what the fuck's going on?
Right.
What's really going on? Because to go, you have to work so hard to pin that all on him.
I think that the city was in such a
they needed to shut this down quick.
They needed to shut it down.
Because
the city was so in fear of this. They had somebody.
What happens if 3 nights later another hit happens?
But it didn't happen. See,
but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
What if it did? Would that have been a copycat?
They took a chance.
Well, they took a chance.
Yeah,
They took a chance.
It could have been a copycat.
And then you're right. Then they could have easily chalked it up to a copycat.
You could have said copycat. But think about this too. You mentioned the Son of Sam letters found in the car on Pine Street. In those letters, he was planning to shoot up a disco, supposedly, according to what we've always heard, on Long Island somewhere. Okay. Now, what I find interesting too is you have this, like the Forest Hills ones were pretty brazen, especially the one at 7:30 at night, the scared shooting one, and then, you had the one outside the disco in Bayside. Okay. Eliphas. Then you have this, and this is just like balls out brazen. Okay, and the next would have been a disco. You're going to come in and shoot up a disco?
I don't believe that.
Or you think that's not real?
I've never seen that letter. I don't know. Have you?
Yeah, you've seen it.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't.
You forgot.
I don't remember.
He doesn't
There's
say
so
that?
much there. It's just like dripping out your ear.
He doesn't say that.
He does, but I think that the reason, because Berkowitz back then was a pretty petulant dude, you know, and he was getting pinned for this. He knew he was going down, and that letter was written for the cops to see. That was not a dry run for a sunset. And I think he putting it out in the Hamptons because he blamed the powers that be in the Hamptons for that thing going down in Brooklyn because it had to be filmed.
Well, let's just take a step back. That makes perfect sense.
I think he's doing that. The Raiden thing. Like, fuck you, I'm going down for this.
Right.
I'm going to blame the Hamptons.
I'm going to put your fingerprint on this. That's how I always.
Interesting.
That's a really good point. And to make it even stronger is. If you're a serial killer, you already killed some people. Now you leave a duffel bag you leave a gun in the glove compartment, which back in '77, no one's leaving a gun in the glove compartment because people are breaking into cars, stealing cars. Then you have a duffel bag with a rifle butt sticking out. It's almost
which was legal.
It was
legal though.
They say it was. I don't see how having a rifle in plain view in a locked car can be legal, but let's say it is. It seems to me you would do everything you could to protect yourself from getting caught,
bring attention,
and not bring it. Right. So I don't know. To me, the whole thing, it just doesn't make sense. But it all lines up with what you were saying. Is I'm going down for this. I'm gonna get
take
caught.
everybody with me.
I'm trying to leave.
Why wasn't that phone book thrown away?
But if
phone book? His book with all
if
the
what you're
numbers in it.
saying is true, and it's a very good point, why has Berkowitz clammed up all these years? If he wanted to take people down, he could have done that.
His
wait a minute.
No,
hold on. You got to remember.
Yeah, I mean, I know his father.
Very important in this case, and us, and other researchers have made the same mistake, and you got to really pay attention to the timeline.
Yeah.
Because what was true in '77, or what we thought was true in '77. It turned out not to be true in 1980. Some things we found out in 2004 that what we thought was true isn't true. So you always got to keep the timeline. When did this happen, and then go from there.
Okay.
So
you're right. You fall down that rabbit hole sometimes.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
You know what the problem also happened? Once he got caught, there was no more shooting. And that's the other thing. The shooting stopped.
To me, that's very easily explainable.
Because
if you arrest a guy, and say he did the Son of Sam shootings, and we got him, everyone go about your business, everything's safe.
Yeah.
If there is other shooters, would you use a 44 again?
No.
You're just going to draw more attention to yourself, and you're going to reopen the case. So. People say, well, the shooting stopped.
And stop that MO of Lover's Lane.
Yeah, right. So they just and that's another misnomer. I really hate when people say Lover's Lanes because
couples.
No, because none of them. The closest we have to a Lover's Lane is the Moskowitz Violante shooting.
Yeah.
That and
Esau.
To me that
Esau.
No, that's not a Lover's Lane. I'll tell you why. She lived right around the corner. Yeah. So if you're bringing your girlfriend home, you want to give her a kiss before you go. You're not going to pull in front of the house and let the parents see it. So,
they had to go there anyway.
And the other ones are definitely not Lovers Lanes. First of all, you got two girls shooting one. You got a couple.
I should have said couples in a car.
Right. But Lover's Lane has been hooked to the Son of Sam case since day one.
It's not right.
And none of them are Lover's Lanes. The closest you can get is.
But the Voskorician one was just one person.
Well, that's the old thing.
So that's the standout.
Well, you had two girls. That's what I'm saying. Two girls in the first shooting.
Yeah.
A couple in the second shooting. Not a Lover's Lane. It's a residential street. Two girls in the third shooting. So right away, it's not even couples anymore. Forget about Lover's Lanes. Then you have Freund. It's not a Lover's Lane. It's in front of the Long Island Railroad Station. You got Voskorician by herself.
Right.
Judy Placido, the Eliphas. Not a Lover's Lane. It's right around the corner from the disco. And then you got this one. So it just this Lover's Lane thing. It just makes it romanticize the story, but there's no truth to it.
But the only two that you can definitely that people have pointed out as being hits. Well, all of them have been at one point or another been among the community, thinking this was a hit, this was a retaliation for a cheating boyfriend. All these, the only ones that really defy kind of the trajectory of this thing are Damassi and Voskorician. Those are the two where it's like you're just going up to people and shooting them. They're not in a closed space. They're not in a vehicle. So there was talk. I don't know whether Berkowitz had said this.
There were mafia hits. There were hits.
They seemed like hits, but the girls don't seem like hits. The girls seem like it's almost like throw this off the trail, get the scent off.
Of what
we're killing couples. We're shooting people in cars.
Yeah. Well, this has been a dilemma with the Son of Sam, in that no one, including myself, after all these years of research, no one can pinpoint why these people were shot, including myself. That's why I continue doing this, because I want to know like, how did you find me? And how, you know, when we spoke to Berkowitz in jail, that was my point. You know,
that's when you said. That's when you said you lied.
That's when you said, yeah.
So I told him you lied.
You know, I said, did you follow me out of the bar? Did you follow Rosemary? Did you sit in front of Peck's for 2 hours waiting for us to leave? And I said that none of this makes sense because
we were just driving around.
You know,
said,
and he goes, we were just driving. And I said
around.
that you're lying to me. I said you could have went to Main Street and had your pick of the litter. You know, so. You know, and that's when he put his head down and just like, you know,
I think all these people were connected somehow. There's one person,
I think
something's missing, and they all knew each other, and somebody was just
missing. I've wanted for years, and I've been pressing Carl to do it for years. There are reasons why it hasn't happened.
Research and get people's name.
Everybody, you get all of the survivors, and maybe next to kin, just in a room.
In a room.
And you'll be surprised. It'll be like a cat's cradle.
The problem is with
6
that
degrees
is
of separation.
The problem with doing that is I've contacted all the survivors, and not one of them, except for Judy Placido, has ever gotten back to me. Wow. And I've made repeated request efforts. I've also reached out to the survivors to be part of the documentaries that have gone on over the years, and most recently in the last 3 or 4 years, ending with Josh Siemens, the Netflix series.
Yes.
Judy's the only one that got back to me and said that she didn't want to be part of it, but all the other survivors didn't even get back to me. So it'd be great if we could all get in one room and you know, kind of talk it out, because little bits of information that I get almost once a week, somebody will give me some information I didn't know before. So, you know, people say, oh, 45 years, it's like, it is what it is. Yeah. And it's like, no, I've spent considerable amount of time over the last 35 years, and I'm still finding out new information. Yeah. So it would be good, but unless all the victims want to, you know, get together and talk, it's, you know, it's not going to happen. Good idea, but I don't see it.
I just think that if that happened, a lot of things would be answered. I'm not saying that you crack the case,
right?
But I think you would be like, oh my God, you know, and this, people in places. So you know, these boroughs would all become connected.
I could tell you right now, our best bet. You know, short of getting the survivors together to hash it out, the only other way we're going to get an answer to those questions is David Berkowitz himself, and I'm hopeful that in our future visits that happens. Yeah. But I think you could spend a lifetime doing research, and you're not going to get the answer. You got to go right to the source, and that's Berkowitz.
If he's willing to talk.
Well, he will be. I'm very persuasive, and I don't give up. Yeah. You're lying to me, David.
What I want to talk about now, though, is the van. Okay, at the scene. The van that we mentioned was opposite Robert Violante and Stacy Moskowitz on Shore Parkway. Is it you know, did Tommy Zano see the guy come out of the van, or did he just see the shooter approach the car? Because I think the van is important.
I believe there was a guy leaning up against the van.
Would that end up being the shooter?
Who wound up being the shooter? Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, like you said, there's a lot to unpack here. I mean, at one point, I believe the yellow Volkswagen was on the scene, and somebody went to get in it, looked around, realized that somebody was looking at him, and just walked around the car and walked away.
All right.
I'm not really sure how important that is. There was just a lot of moving parts. That's for sure.
Right.
The van, not the van. The Volkswagen pulls away, goes down Shore Road, and then it's my understanding there was a guy, I believe he's smoking a cigarette, leaning up against the van, and he took 3
3 big strides across the street and pulled the gun out and fired away at Stacy and Robert.
It was 3 shots.
3 shots, I believe.
Yeah. It's kind of typical of all the shootings, almost.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Now, that shooter took the 3 shots, hitting Violante and Moskowitz, and there's a park right there. Now, he supposedly ran through the park because there was a witness on the other side that saw him, okay?
Right.
But there was also somebody else that you mentioned that was sitting on a park bench nearby.
Yeah, this is. I believe this is, a couple hours before the shooting.
Okay.
But mentioned before there was like a block party going on 3 or 4 blocks down on Shore Road, and somebody, this person approached the party, said, what's going on?
Right.
And I said it's a block party, and he kind of got the cold shoulder because no one knew who he was.
Right.
Later, they saw this guy who sitting on a park bench smoking a cigarette.
Was that in that playground?
I believe. I don't think
Not
so.
too many park benches around there other than there.
I'm not really sure because I'm not familiar with the area.
Yeah.
So I'm retelling the story from John Catalano. Hopefully, I have the story right. I mean, generally speaking, the story is correct. I might have the wrong, the wrong bench, or the time might be wrong. But there was a guy who the description of this person kind of fit David Berkowitz.
But Berkowitz doesn't smoke.
Exactly. So
that we know of.
So that was a mystery until we saw a picture of Silverstein, and he looks very similar to Berkowitz.
Now, just so the viewers understand, who is Silverstein?
Well, Silverstein was, we believe he's one of the 22 disciples of hell. He definitely was friends with Berkowitz. We also know he was at the, played the part of lookout at the Loria shooting.
Right.
It's possible he was at other shootings, but so far we've been able to, ascertain that he was definitely at the Loria shooting, and now the fact that he was smoking a cigarette and the fact that he looks like Berkowitz, everyone assumed it was Berkowitz, and someone said, well, the guy was smoking a cigarette, and Berkowitz doesn't smoke. So we're assuming Silverstein was one of the lookouts. And again,
was he wearing denim? Because there's a lot of references of people wearing denim, different color, different.
I don't
blue
recall.
denim, dark blue denim.
I don't recall. I mean, the photo we have of him, he's wearing like a, like Italian undershirt.
Oh,
but
Italian dinner shirt.
Yeah, because he just got a parking ticket.
Right.
And,
that would have.
That's going to point directly to him.
Up. Yep.
The powers that be said it's still going on. You get back there and make sure that let us know. Let us know where the cops are.
Right.
Berkowitz walks back to his car, and at this point, Cecilia Davis is getting dropped off by her boyfriend.
But who witnessed him by his car right then before he asked to stop everything? Okay, was it Cecilia Davis was like there earlier?
No,
and saw him, or somebody else?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
I was under the impression it was her, that she was out earlier, a few minutes earlier, double parked.
So,
yes. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
in a car, and saw him.
So she saw him
twice.
Yes, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Yes, because she saw the cop give the ticket, then she saw Berkowitz walk up to the car.
Right, and he was a little agitated that he got a ticket, kicked a tire or something like
and
that.
Then he cut through the building.
Right.
And apparently, what he told Maury was, he tried to get the shooting to stop.
Right.
They told him no. He came back, and he came back, and that's when he ripped the ticket off the
car,
off the windshield,
and tried to get out,
threw into the passenger seat, tried to get out, couldn't get out because
she was double parked, triple parked. I think it was really like very tight,
small, tight street.
Yeah, tight
street. So her date, pulls out and actually leaves, and then Cecilia watches Berkowitz get out of the parking spot and slowly go follow the cops that just gave the ticket, because they were moving real slow, because they gave out, I believe they gave out 2 or 3 other tickets on the same block. They get to the next corner, which is a long block, not a typical New York block. It was a long block, and they made a right away from the shooting scene, and Berkowitz followed them
to see where they were going.
This is as per Cecilia.
And there is I believe it's the 60th precinct is right there on Bath Avenue, which is only a few blocks away. So he might have been saying, hey, these guys, maybe they're going back to the precinct. Something like he wanted to know where they were going. But it's interesting because he was, at that moment, he was 2 long blocks away from what would be the shooting site. Really kind of 2 long blocks and 1 over. Okay, if you remember. Yet, you know, the distance, he would have had to get there quickly to try to stop it, you know. And again, it goes back to the walkie-talkie thing. You know, did he have that?
So, you know, it's one of the questions that Howie had asked Berkowitz when we visited him in prison. Did you use walkie-talkies? And Berkowitz said no. And he obviously was lying. And when you think about it, of course he's lying, because why would you have a lookout if you can't get in touch with the other people? What's the point of following the cops and making sure the cops are away from the shooting scene so they can go on with the shooting? How would you get in touch with them? So that doesn't make any sense. I'm just trying to go through the Cecilia Davis thing, because
she eventually does go back into her house, get her dog,
and she walking the dog.
Now it's about.
So she already sees Berkowitz twice.
With the dog, and then she's got dog,
and then she watches him go down the street, follow the cops. Then she goes into her apartment to get her dog,
something like that, right?
And.
Because didn't he park? He went after he
he parked somewhere else.
She comes out. She comes back out with the dog, and that's when
she ends up face to face with him.
Winds up face to face with him, and she gets a good look at him, and he's carrying something metallic
in his hand. This is before the shooting.
We surmised that it was a walkie-talkie that was in his hand.
Could have been a gun, could have been a gun.
But as Maury Terry proved in his reenactment that was televised back in the 90s, Berkowitz couldn't have gotten back. After following the cops and making a right away from the shooting, Berkowitz couldn't possibly have gotten back, even if he found a parking spot. We were there during the day, and there was no parking. At 2 o'clock in the morning, there's definitely no parking because everyone's in for the night.
I also think that he looked at that lady, so he could be like, I was never at the shooting. I just looked at this lady.
Exactly.
He made direct eye contact. With Cecilia.
You know, that's
he did not try to hide from her, and I think that was Howie's assumption that he wanted to be seen.
He wanted to be seen. I was there at the shooting.
So she comes out. She comes out with the dog, has that run-in, and then walks the dog, and then goes upstairs, and like almost immediately when she shut her apartment door, she hears bang bang bang.
Wow.
And based on that timeline, Berkowitz couldn't have done it. So you got in this case you have Cecilia Davis, who seems to be a pretty credible witness. The timeline matches because we know when the parking ticket was given out because it's not time stamped, but the cops write in the time. And and the eyewitnesses, including Tommy Zano, who was there and knows exactly when the shooting happened. So, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so in the next episode, we want to talk about the van and what might have been going on there.
Okay.
Okay?
That sounds good.
Thank you for watching this episode of Conspiracy 420, the Son of Sam Chronicles with Denaro.